What is up? How's it going? We are joined with two very special guests tonight. We're going to have one that's coming in a little bit later. One comes from a metric system, and he calls coyotes coyotes.
They are coyotes. It's a subspecies.
It's a subspecies.
Coyote.
I always, you know what, my girlfriend is Spanish. She's always telling me there's coyotes around, but she says it coyote. You know what that means?
Kind of blending Canuckistanian and Mexican, huh?
Coyote is shut up.
I know that.
Okay.
I speak a little bit of Spanish.
So I want to give a special shout out to our first person here tonight, Mr. Hootie Who.
Hootie Who?
Hey, Hootie Who.
The very first one to comment tonight. We have Mr. Ron Wayne, Mr. Yukikaze. Hey, you're pulling double duty. You're in the comment section and in the live stream, Mr. Half Mile.
Do what I can.
We have my very good friend, Mr. Boom Country Hydrographics, one of the best Ceratoders in the Midwest, if not the best Ceratoder in the Midwest. Contact Mr. Boom Country for all your Ceratoding needs. We have Mrs. Misty Wayne, accompanied by her husband, Mr. Ron Wayne, the ultimate power couple. And that's all that's commented so far. So, look at Ron already pulling shenanigans. I like how Bending used his baby picture for his thumbnail on his stream. Oh, shoot.
My baby picture's black and white.
Did they have cameras back then?
Yeah.
Charcoal drawings.
That's right. That's right. It's more like a stick drawing.
I've
blossomed since then.
I figured they would have to use charcoal and like etch it out on a piece of sandpaper.
Moving on. It was actually in stone, you prick, but we'll go with that.
Did they take the ash from the fires and like carve it with their fingers?
I got to be on a cave wall somewhere, I'm sure.
I'm sure. What's up, Mr. Half Mile?
Not much. What I can say is my buddy and the friend and president of the Rapid Reticle Company was watching the video when I drilled my chronograph, and I was complaining that I couldn't get my Tacticam FTS to focus through my scope.
That is a bit of a bear, isn't it?
And he pings me back and says, "Oh, that scope you're using," because it's an early prototype. He goes, "That's only a 6-power scope, and the parallax is internally set to 100 yards." He goes, the 17 HMR scope, the bullet drop reticle works perfect for 350 Legend with 170 grain. Hey, Jeff B. He goes, 170 grain bullet going 2150. It works perfect with the 17 HMR reticle.
What's up, Steve?
I'll send you one.
Nice.
Box arrived on my front step today, and here it is, all sealed up, and we're going to open it up and see just what he sent me.
So far, I'm not impressed.
A little blocky. So I think I have to cut a hole in the end so I can see through.
A lot of people don't realize that 17 HMR and 350 Legend have the same drop all the way out to 400 yards. A lot of people don't realize that.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you suppose carries more energy?
Which one has more energy? Without a doubt, 350 Legend, just because of the weight.
That was a bit of a jackass question.
So there we go. Oh.
But you know what has more energy at 100 yards than that 6.5 Rooster? That 308.
Yeah.
So what we have
Indeed,
here,
sir.
we have our box. We have
So throw that top up again, if you wouldn't mind, please. What is that?
Sure. Let me do something better.
PFI rapid
There
reticle.
we go.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm learning StreamYard as I'm going, so bear with me some.
Attaboy.
I am still learning StreamYard myself. In fact, I had to call Hootie Hoo to ask what I did wrong last time when I tried to do StreamYard. Oh, rubber band. Okay. So here we go. We have a brand new 17 HMR scope with a bullet drop reticle out to 300 yards, it looks like. I don't think y'all will be able to see that. I'll try. I know the camera's around here somewhere.
Go up, down, to the left. Your other left. Down. No. There it goes. Oh. No. Little more. It's not
Sounds
gonna work.
like sounds like the time I lost my virginity.
It's looking a little upside down right now. Hey, that's a little too hard to do.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too.
But hey, I had to try. And besides the scope, he sent a scope mount, which I think is going to be a one-piecer. It is a one-piece scope mount, so I'll be able to level the scope in the mount, and then just drop it right down on the Picatinny rail.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be cool.
So is that mount similar to the spur mount, or is it more just a cantilever mount?
This one here is just a three bolt flat mount.
So it's almost like the spur. The spur is made like that. Now, does that have MOA built into it?
No, I believe it's just a flat.
Oh,
yeah, it's just a flat.
Gotcha.
So we'll be working on mounting that scope in this mount and then get it prepped to drop on the 350 upper. A couple quick shots to zero it, and we'll hopefully get some good Tacticam video through it. I was told the secret is put it on 12 power and back the eye relief out 3/16 of an inch. So we'll see how that works out.
Ron Wayne says that box will be empty.
Well, that box is empty now. It's all sitting in my lap.
Yeah, you and Hootie Hoo do a lot of work with 350 Legend. Now, how does that compare to like 450 Bush or 458 SOCOM or something like that?
Well, for the 450, you're going to have to ask Hootie that. I've never had the opportunity to shoot a 450 Bushmaster or the 450 SOCOM. Now, the 450 SOCOM, I believe, is a shouldered round where the 450 Bushmaster is straight wall.
Yes. I have both of those. I have 450 450 Baboosh and 458 So. I have both of those.
Yeah.
The Rooster still have spurs when he got married when they were.
You know what? Thankfully, I'm no longer married, but there was more than my spurs that got clipped. I can tell you that.
Ron asked, so if he gets a 350, will he become a legend?
Eventually. It doesn't happen automatically.
We have our good friend Eagle Run 23 in the house with us. He doesn't answer his phone call or return texts, but he comes into live streams.
Now, Rooster, if you can get any of this up there in Canada land, it's
Ooh.
almost as good as the real Molsons.
Is that right?
Not the U.S. Molsons, but the real Molsons.
Okay.
What is that?
I'll have to look that up just for shits and
Shiner
giggles.
Bock.
Shiner Bock.
Oh.
It's a dark beer.
Okay.
You know what we get here in Kentucky, and we're the furthest state west to have it? Yingling.
They sell Yingling in Texas now.
Oh,
They started this year, I believe. They start selling Yingling in Texas, and Yingling's good beer. I have a
Mr. Mike McClune
story about that. I was
Yukikaze says Ron is already a legend. Kentucky Batman.
Is that Kentucky or KY?
I mean, I guess either or. I don't know. Eagle Run wants to know, are you in Texas?
I'm not in Texas. I grew up there. I've been in California, Stan, for 30-some years, compliments of Uncle Sugar. And I bounce between here and Arizona now.
What's up, Mike? I don't know if I said hey to him.
What's going on in Arizona right now? Is that mess cleaned up yet?
Eagle Run, being from Texas, it's not cultural appropriation. I feel like I'm home. In fact, take a look over my shoulder here. What do we see? Let me put the light on real quick for you.
Ron doing the bad emoji. Yukikaze was going to come on with us, and I was going to surprise you with Yukikaze being on here. But
too bright for the picture, but it's a Lone Star neon.
Oh.
Nice. So, Boom Country is working on some Cerakote for Ron, apparently, and it's going to be super batty. So that'll be cool. Ooh, Eagle says if you're a Texas man, there's a Texas flag nearby.
One further.
Oh.
Of course there's one nearby.
That's an armadillo.
Yes, it is. Armadillo on a Texas flag. I got folded up nicely now when I get done yapping.
That's great.
What's
going on in Canuckistan, Mr. Rooster?
Eagle Run?
You passed the vibe check, he says.
Well, what's going on in Canuckistan? Well, I'm so glad you asked. This isn't going to mean much to you, but you can, well, it's awfully close to something you'll recognize.
Ooh. Yikes.
37 below. Say, you're almost at 40 below Fahrenheit.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. 40 below Celsius is 40 below Fahrenheit. So
how many is that in Kelvin?
Oh, hell if I know. It is damn cold. My brass monkey's crying.
Ooh. That's awful. That is awful.
Yeah.
Eagle Run says that's a note for him.
Yeah.
And Ron Wayne says an armadillo is a possum with a shell. And they carry leprosy.
Yes, they do.
No,
and they also have identical quadruplets when they birth.
Negative 34 degrees.
Yeah, that's
fair enough.
That's
American negative 34 degrees.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
bloody cold.
Oh, that's awful.
It ain't for everybody, I can tell you that.
No.
So other than that, we've got some damn cold to deal with. We're of course wrestling with our government right now. Our illustrious Justin Trudeau, fucking sock boy, decided that he would add an additional list of several hundred guns to to the list of prohibited firearms that we're allowed to keep, because as licensed firearms owners, we just cannot be trusted for the safety of Canadians. And his famous line for everything, and I don't know who this dumb son of a bitch talks to, but he always says, "This is what Canadians want."
I don't know.
The three people at the base of the CN Tower there in Toronto.
Say that again, sorry.
He's talking to the 3 or 4 people hanging out at the base of the CN Tower.
Well, I think I think he's talking to the 3 people that shine as jack boots, to be honest.
Yeah, because y'all lost you lost all semi-auto.
Fidel's son.
Yeah. Yep. Amen. No.
So
yeah, there's that rumor that he's Fidel Castro's son, and I wouldn't doubt it. His mother was as virtuous as he seems to think he is. There's some definite history there, but yes, we did lose pretty much all our semi-automatic firearms.
We have Mr. Rob in the house from 712 Precision.
Hey guys, I finally made it.
Good deal.
You saved the audience from a rant.
No, we can still do it, because I saw the short of the guy with the single shot 22 who was so proud that was the only rifle you could have left now.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it's getting to be that way.
So
when I shot the Canadian Nationals.
Okay.
This would be 2005, I think it was, and it was over in Barrie.
Okay.
Not able to run.
So they ran my paperwork through most Ricky Tick so I could get my guns into Canada land.
Oh yeah.
But of course I couldn't bring my 4-inch revolver, because a 4-inch revolver is only 100 millimeters, not 105.
That's right. Well. Absolutely.
And I couldn't bring my magazines from my duty gun, because my duty gun held 11 rounds.
Yes, sir.
But fortunately, the RCMP carried the same gun, but with 10-round magazines.
Oh, no kidding.
So they had it all worked out for me that I could, all the grandfathered 2-inch guns and the grandfathered 4-inch guns, I would be able to borrow somebody's gun to shoot those matches. And the Mounties let me use their magazines so I could shoot the duty gun match with my duty gun. It was challenging, to say the least.
Well, I dare say that experience that you had back then will soon be a thing of strict fantasy here soon.
What is going to happen to the World Police and Fire Games this year? Because they're being held up in Winnipegia in the butt.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And that's a whole lot of handguns that are going to be getting imported in the Kazakhstanian.
That's actually really interesting. I don't know.
What's up,
mind you, what do you think, Rob? Like, what the hell would our government do about that? Because it is law enforcement, and I mean, we've seen, like with the trucker convoy, the protest up here, that nobody else in this country is allowed to have an AR-15 because they're the devil. And but you know what? People were getting butt stroked with the fucking RCMP service rifles.
I mean, as far as law enforcement competing and or military, I mean, they have always been exempt from a lot of laws. I mean, you can be in the military and law enforcement and not have a PAL or an RPAL and still be allowed to shoot full auto and or carry a handgun, right?
Yeah.
So if you are competing with your duty firearm, what's the government going to do about that, I guess, right?
You know what? Nothing would surprise me. I hope that won't be affected, but it wouldn't shock me if something's done there too.
And you could be right, and here's why I say that, because the military and law enforcement have a budget for training, right?
Yeah.
And like anything, it's nowhere near what it should be.
Mm-hmm. No.
And you have a large cross section of people, and we'll just maybe pick on law enforcement for this, not pick on them, but use them. A large group of people that you have employed in law enforcement. Not every one of those people is a gun enthusiast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that or they go out and train on their own, and that
Yep.
it only makes them a better law enforcement person, because part of that job, as good or as bad as it is ultimately at some point they got to draw that on somebody, right?
That's it.
So, but what that comes down to is the governments are taking away the ability for these guys to train on their own, because at some point ranges aren't going to be required, right?
Yep.
Or ranges now, how many times have you heard of ranges saying, screw it, we're not letting law enforcement on our range anymore to train?
Precisely what's happening. Yeah.
Right. So, and there is a lot of law enforcement places that don't have their own range, and they rely on civilian ranges. They rent them out, right?
Yeah.
So what, are we just going to have a bunch of Goombas out there with handguns on their side that have no experience?
You know damn well we're seeing this already. The recruits that they have don't know how to deal with their sidearms or their
when they decided to arm the CBSA.
Mm-hmm.
The training went, that all fell in the RCMP's lap.
Yep.
Right. And the RCMP was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And you had all these Hanyaks who were just, CBSA folks.
Yep.
Most of them didn't want to carry a gun.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't want to. But
and with our young people coming up,
how they're my brethren on the other side of the 49th.
Yeah.
I want to support them, but I can't, being retired American copper, I can't imagine not wanting to carry a gun.
Right. Well, it's ideology has taken over for practicality and well, quite frankly, brains. Like your sentiment there, Half Mile, that you can't imagine being without that tool. Well, it's a different culture, especially with our young people coming up. That, well, what do you need that tool for?
We have that same issue on this side of the fence.
Sure
when I came back to California from the northern border,
yeah,
I had a box of holsters, duty holsters, off-duty holsters for all kinds of guns.
Yeah,
shit that I'd won at pistol matches around the world here.
Right.
And I brought them into my briefing. I told my guys, "Say, hey, there's free holsters here. Take whatever you want."
Right.
I had one agent take a holster.
No kidding.
The next day, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What is up with y'all? Why are you not taking a free holster?
Yeah.
And it was all these new kids. Well, I just leave it in my locker. I don't take it home. I don't want to be responsible for it when I'm not at work. I might want to go get a drink. I might want to do this. My kids are at home. I'm like,
yeah.
I've already told Bending something that happened in my career that I'm not going to say for all the world to hear. But because of that, mm-hmm. I go nowhere without a gun. I don't answer the door without a gun.
Right.
Even in the daylight.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been told
Rob's got a rifle in his background.
Yep.
I have a pistol on either side of me at arm's length, within arm's length.
Right.
I can shoot out a window right here if I need to.
Yeah.
So, Trudeau changed too that y'all can't even have Canuckistani and Maine gas rifles anymore, can you?
Doesn't matter where they come from. They could come from heaven, and he wouldn't allow it.
Yep.
Wow.
See,
and just like that, since we have two Canadians here, they will appreciate this story, I think. I hope.
Try us out.
So here it is. I'm brand new at my station in Michigan. I just transferred up there, and I'm invited to come to Canada Land for Safety Day at Stratford-on-Avon, which is like 3 hours behind enemy lines. I'm driving a March unit in full uniform in your country. Now, the rules I had to play by was as long as I was in uniform, I could have my duty gun with my 11-round magazine. But when we went for dinner at night, I had to chain my gun to a hard point in the hotel.
Right.
Okay, that's their rule, so I did that. I went out, drank me Molson's, had a good time. Everything was good. Next day, we're doing this the safety day there in Stratford-on-Avon, and it started out with a lights and sirens parade, and it was coppers from all over Ontario, Montreal, Quebec. What's next? Is it Manitoba on the west side?
Manitoba to the west.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were some Manitobans. There were some New York coppers. There were some Michigan coppers. There was us. We did this lights and sirens by all the schools through town, like a 2-hour woo 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 woo. Then we ended up at the hockey rink, and it was 3 separate hockey rinks, and we had booths set up on the ice. It was a long damn day standing on the ice, but there was this one little lady. She comes walking up, and she comes up to the table, and she goes, "Excuse me, but you're American, eh?" I go, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Why are you here, eh?" I go, "Preemptive strike, ma'am."
Oh, if only
So,
true.
But the OPP put on one hell of a spread first that night. There was food and all the beer we could drink. And fortunately, the hotel was only like half a mile away from where we were eating. But yeah,
well, you know what? I think both our nations used to foster that relationship, right? Now, between the 2 idiots that both of us have in office right now, that has... our 2 nations, I don't think could be further apart now. Honestly,
No.
We're steering right toward the same shithole.
well, our trees don't even touch anymore.
Maybe.
that's why they call it the slash.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't. Well, and there's an island off of Michigan. What is that island?
Presque Isle, that's up in Superior, and then there's the island, the isle down in the Detroit River.
This is one in Lake Michigan that the people have to cross double Canadian borders to come back to the United States unless they have the ice road. It's a big fishing spot.
That's in Superior and that's Presque Isle, I think.
I just watched a documentary on it last night. You'd think I'd remember the name. But when COVID hit, the island got completely shut off from the United States because they had to go through Canadian borders both ways.
Oh my!
And there was no way to get back to the United States.
Oh,
And
that might be Drummond Island up by Sault Ste. Marie too.
Okay.
Because I was the head of the station at Sault Ste. Marie for 6 months. So there's Ice Bridge, and it's between mainland and Drummond Island.
Right.
And the Port Monkeys put a impromptu gate there on the ice bridge to check people coming and going.
it's in Minnesota. It's that little like horseshoe that goes up in Minnesota. Right there. It's that island. Anyways.
Okay. Yukai Kazi is saying culturally we're still very similar. He says allegedly, but yes, very much so. But there's a wedge being driven between us. I'm certain. At least that's the way I see it, anyway.
Like
the U.S.
culturally
is being demonized for to drive a narrative up here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Western Canada.
All your bad guns up there are coming from us, according to Justin, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're just streaming across the border. It's like we can drive and throw them over the fence.
There's not a fence anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah.
True. Makes it easier to throw them.
Yeah. No, you just fly them in on
Drones.
Drones now. But Rob was going to say Western Canada is
culturally you have Western Canada versus Eastern Canada, but there's like Western Canada fits in very well with a lot of the right-leaning states as well, right?
100%. Yep.
Sure. Alberta is very. I know Saskatchewan's pretty much like this too, but we're pretty free and easy with how we can act with firearms in Alberta. within the laws. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not the wild, wild west out here by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, you can go out to the forest and have your gun with you and run into the conservation officer, and they are not freaked out. You know, they're very okay with what you're doing. Yeah. I can go sit on my deck and clean my rifles. I carry my rifles out to the truck all the time. Nobody cares. I've got gun decals on my truck. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But if my truck was in Ontario, I think there would be a big trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Beyond east, beyond Manitoba, it's a totally different story. You know,
it depends on what part of Ontario.
You're right.
Because we used to have some mighty nice intel meetings with the Mounties in Sarnia. And I had to come back across the Blue Water Bridge like this more than once.
Yeah.
Because it's only a 2-lane bridge and I had 3 lanes. So, yeah.
The very worst part of Ontario is a part that we call the 905, which is an area code, which is deep in Toronto.
That's it.
Yep.
That is the very worst part of Ontario for sure.
100%.
My kid's
Is that where
sister
Maple Leaf Man
married me,
lives?
and I blamed him for trying to get a green card, but it turns out she wanted to be a landed immigrant. So they live over in Acton.
Oh,
And,
Is that where Maple Leaf Man comes from?
Maple Leaf Man.
Yeah,
I'm
y'all
unfamiliar.
superhero. You're the superhero. You haven't seen him?
No.
I tagged you in the meme on him on Instagram a couple weeks ago.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you didn't see it?
No, I'm afraid I didn't. You know what? We don't pay a great deal of attention until it comes to politics to what's going on, generally speaking, to what's going on the eastern half of this country. It's there's just no point anymore. There's such a divide between east and west. It's not even funny. We might as well be 2 separate countries.
They
divide
do not
used to
get
only be
Alberta
between
and
all of
Saskatchewan.
Canada and Montreal or Quebec.
What's that? Sorry?
The divide used to be against all of Canada versus Quebec because
Yeah, that's
Quebec
right.
wanted to separate.
That's right. But thanks to the 905 and
Yeah.
our idiot liberal government, we've now lumped Ontario into that same box of shit stains.
Yeah.
So you were talking about 308 earlier, Rob, and I'm a huge 308 fan. I love 308. I
God's
think
round, right?
Who does
do what?
God's round.
I think it's one of the best rounds for anybody to get started with any type of long range shooting because it teaches recoil management, how to stay behind your rifle and control. If you've got a light rifle, teaches you how to control it, and for as heavy of a puncher as it is, it's relatively soft shooting in retrospect.
It is. Yep.
And
I agree. 100% correct. It was a rifle. Like I said, it was a cartridge that was introduced to me. I mean, as far as hunting rifles go that I had before I got into long range, it was a 30-06 and a 22.
Yep.
So you want to lay behind a 30-06 with some 180 grain, you won't be doing much more than 10 rounds before you regret that decision, right?
In an 8-pound rifle, yep.
Yeah, right. But it's the introduction to me, by the guys that knew better to the 308. I agree. When people ask my thoughts on what to get behind to learn, I tell them 308.
Yeah.
And now you're converting over to a 6mm. Are you going to the 6 gauge Tiger, or are you going to go to the 6 bougie Dasher?
Because I'm still wanting to shoot factory, it's going to be probably 6 Creed.
Well, you can get 6 gauge Tiger in factory loads from Hornady.
You can, except it's not. I don't even think it's available in Canada yet.
Oh,
yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good old George. And I think I mentioned George. I had the pleasure to meet him at one of my trips to SHOT. I mean, the most incredible guy. You would never suspect who you were talking to. But another guy that understands exactly why something that the 6 GT was needed, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we make fun of the 6GT guys in PRS here.
Did you?
Oh, dude, we ride them like we go give those guys so much shit for running the 6GT.
But they were probably crushing it.
I'm gonna say that's all well and good, but did you beat them?
I have with my Dasher. I run the 6 Dasher. Well, I run a 6GT, a 6 Dasher, and a 6.5 Needmore, and a 6.5 Grindle. And well, and
pretty much,
and obviously my 308. But
yeah, pretty much anything 6 mil on that PRS circuit is what's killing it. I mean, you there was the 6.5 Creed that was, I think, kind of a big cartridge in there, and then a lot of the Wildcats came along.
Mm-hmm. The ARC is starting to get to be really big in PRS.
Yes, yeah, but yeah, the 6 mil appears to be what a lot of, again, if you were to look who's in the winning circle, and what they're what they're using, it's going to be something 6 mil.
Yeah.
Well, my buddy Robert Brentley, I don't know if you know Robert Brentley or not.
You know who he is, yeah.
He's been running 308 all year this year in tactical, and he's like, I love it. He can't get enough of running 308 anymore because he loves it from the shit talking that comes from it.
Yeah.
And also the sheer fact of it's still a more than capable round. I had Robert on a couple weeks ago. Yeah, you were on here, Rooster.
Yes, sir.
And Robert was talking about how he's running 308. But you're pushing yours to just crazy limits too, aren't you? You're doing
Myself?
what? Yeah. You're 308?
Yeah, I got it in my head that it's 1,000+ meters is okay with that, and I do it.
I had people tell me I couldn't shoot the 308 beyond 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I shoot it beyond 1,100 yards every year.
It's definitely capable.
Oh yes.
Yep. Yeah. So my like I was saying on Rooster's podcast there, my first 1,000+ meters or 1,000+ yard hits, they were actually at 1,400 and change yards.
Nice.
And up until that, my longest was in the 900 range. So it was a big step. It wasn't like I had a chance to creep into it. It was good. It was like a third round hit, and with trees for backdrops, so trying to watch your splash was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And so third round, and then 3 right after that, bang, bang, bang. So that says something. That says something for, again, a round that is, like you say, shit talk for not being capable of doing it, but it is. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, that's just an invitation for hey, step up, boy. I think.
Yep.
I want to build a 6.5 Needmore upper for my AR-10, just because. I mean, I built my AR-10. I shoot it out beyond 1,000 yards. Now I want to make a 6.5.
Well, you see the same thing happen with 300 Win Mag when they came out with the 300 PRC. Everybody's saying 300 Win Mag is adequate data now. But I mean, you still have guys that are competing at mile-long ELR matches with 300 Win Mag and killing it.
Yep. Why wouldn't you? Yep. It's still very capable, for sure.
And I don't think 300 Win Mag gets fun until you're past 1,000 yards with it. That's when I think it starts getting fun.
Oh, Uke, sorry, I have to interject here. Uke is way offside, and he's got it totally backwards. Not that one.
Which one?
The last one that he put up. Okay, Uke, you're on a timeout.
He's a moderator. I can't time him out.
Your time in my heart.
I've got a bit of a bromance for the PRC in general, just whether it's a 6 or the 300, and then they came out with the 7 mil PRC too.
Hornady just released
the same. I think it's, and I'm not a big fan of Hornady as a cartridge to be, on general. I don't think perform as well as I think they do.
Oh.
But as a cartridge designer, for them to come out with the PRC, I think it was incredible. I think the cartridge is a phenomenal, just the concept behind it, right?
Yeah.
So I think Hornady hit that out of the park, and I can't wait for other companies like Federal to get in the action and start coming out with their versions of the PRC for sure. That's going to be something.
Well, you got to realize, like, GA Precision out of Kansas, they're the ones that helped develop all the SAMI spec for 6GT and the 7 PRC, but the 7 PRC was known as the 7, was it the 7 Psalm? Is that Boom Country will have to chime in there because he was telling me about that. The old name for it is like I thought it was 7 Psalm is what he was saying, or 7 Saul. I can't remember, but it was obviously a Wildcat, like all these PRCs and all that stuff are.
The 7mm stuff is something I haven't really looked at yet. I'm barely getting my head wrapped around the 6mm stuff, right? So I kind of wonder why a 1mm difference is where it's at. So I'm not dismissing it, but it's something I definitely need to put more effort into learning why it's something that's successful.
Well, the ballistic difference between a 6mm bullet and a 7mm bullet, when you're talking the high BC, heavier bullets, there is a drastic difference.
Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. You're looking at top end bullet weight in a 6mm of 115 grains, where a top end weight for 7mm bullet, I think, is 190. Right. So Berger, I believe, puts out a 190. I'm not sure where Hornady's at with the A tips for the 7mm, but they're right up there too. And
is this back to running a longer bullet?
It is. That's precisely what it is for sure.
Gotcha.
So you look at how well the 284 still does in F class.
Yeah.
And they're running those high BC 7mm bullets and crushing it. Still.
Well, that makes sense to me, because that was one of the biggest premises behind the PRC was the ability to run what do they call it, heavier than spec bullets or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Ron has been bugging me for about a month now.
Yeah.
Because I cut barrels. Barrels and do a bunch of gunsmithing and stuff like that. He's been bugging me for about a month now to build him a 25 ACP and a Remington 700 action. I don't know if they make a bolt face small enough for it, but it'd be fun to do.
On a Marlin 60?
Well, I know all the spec codes for the Remington 700 action because, I mean, you're talking Pristine, Curtis, Bighorn, Defiance, all those guys. They run the same specs for,
more or less, yep.
It was a 375 Ruger. That's what it is.
Oh, is that what it, like I haven't dug into the 7 PRC yet, but I was wondering what the parent case was or what it was designed off of. That's interesting. The 300 PRC, like, it uses the same base case, but it might end up longer than the 375 Ruger. I'm not sure. But yeah, same bolt face diameter and all that kind of stuff. So that 7 is very interesting to me so far. The little bit that I've looked into it. It's very similar, I think, to that old 7 LRM. Who were those guys that came out with that? Crap, I can't remember. I can't recall their names right now. But that 7 LRM was quite a good caliber as well.
Yeah, Boom's big into the 284 Jazz.
It's here for good reason.
See? I don't know.
That was wicked on a 300 Norma case. Woo!
So with the 6.5 Rooster, I want some clarity on 6.5 Rooster because you keep talking about this caliber, how it's so good, and I'm not dogging it by any stretch. What is the
What do you?
parent case?
A 284. Straight 284. So what I did was I essentially shortened it up by 302 thou, so that it ends up being only about 20 thou longer than a Creedmoor case,
Mhm.
and it's got a longer neck on it. It takes a lot of work.
Is it
But
still a 30-degree bump, or is it more of a 28-degree?
no, it's a 35 degree. I kept the same 35-degree shoulder as on the 284 case.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good way to go. I didn't necessarily want to go as steep as 40-degree on an Ackley,
Mhm.
to avoid any potential feeding problems. How low a risk that is, I don't know, because I've shot Ackleys for a long time too, and I don't get feeding problems like a lot of guys claim. But
I did with the
just
Dasher.
that's right too.
The Dasher is at 40-degree, but I did that on my own recognizances of doing that because I um decided to throw it in a gas rifle and kick myself in the nuts.
Oh God, yeah. So,
Oh, dude, it was a bitch. It was probably the roughest rifle that I've ever built from scratch because you got to make the bolt face.
yeah,
Then you got to figure out how to get a 40-degree shoulder bump to feed reliably in a gas rifle.
yeah,
So
it's a
you have to.
challenge.
I ended up taking the barrel extension off my barrel and cutting it down. I want to say I cut it down 50 thousandths of an inch at an angle
Okay,
just to be able to get it to snap up when the bolt comes back and grabs the back,
great.
just to be able to get that bounce up in there. And it still has issues to this
Yeah,
day.
is
I
that
shot
right?
it at a PRS match last year, I think is when I shot it. Oh, dude, it was the biggest nightmare. I ended up ripping out my bolt, and I had a 308 bolt and a 20-inch 308 barrel with 308 ammo. Did a barrel swap in the middle of the match and ran 308 the rest of the match.
Oh no kidding.
Dude, it was awful. Awful. Awful.
Well, thankfully, I can say the only issue I've had, if you can call it an issue, with the 6.5 Rooster is 10 round mags. Because of the 284 case, it'll only run, depending on the mag, 8 or 9 rounds in that mag. So every stage you got to do a bloody mag change. So
Mhm.
that's the only problem. But overall, yes, Uke, the 6.5 Rooster is a thing. I built it honestly primarily to spank the Creedmoor, because back when I designed it, everybody was, oh, this 6.5 Creedmoor is the shit, and it's the best thing ever, and it lets every clown out there think he's a sniper. And
But
like, I could do something better.
Isn't
So
284 7mm?
It is, but I shortened it up, necked it down to 6.5, and
I mean,
it
and
runs
you're calling
29.8.
it 6.5. Shouldn't it be shooting at 277?
Oh,
We can do that too.
we got shots
So
fired there.
other than the 338 Lapua, I don't know of anything other than the 6.5 Creedmoor that went so wildfire with people on a bandwagon. Have you, like, you know what I mean? Like, the 6.5 just went gangbusters.
It did.
It did take off. It was, and I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from. It's just people that just, why do you want 6.5? Well, because it's the shit. Well, okay, it's good for sure.
You know what bugs me the
It
most?
kicks less. Yeah, it kicks less.
Yeah. What bugs me the most about the 6.5 Creedmoor is that, like, in a good way, it allowed, for some reason, it sparked a whole new wave of shooters
Yes.
to precision long
Yep.
range, which
What's
is
up, that
great.
bearded guy?
So, but the thing is, those people now refer to, when they're talking about the 6.5 Creedmoor, they say, hey, I have a 6.5.
Yeah.
Like, 6.5 what?
Yeah.
Well, you know, a 6.5. A 6.5 Grendel, 6.5 284. There's like, come on, guy. Get a little educated.
Not everybody can handle the 6.5
Is
Grendel,
that why
though.
the 284 is now called the 6.5 in Rooster?
Say that again. Sorry.
Is that why the 284 is now called a 6.5 Rooster? Because I got a 6.5.
That's right. Yeah. I tell all my buddies, I got a 6.5.
Not everybody can handle. This is actually a Valkyrie. So here I am talking shit about the 6.5 Grendel holding up a Valkyrie case. Actually, I had to look at it, make sure I was holding up the right one. But this is a round I love too, is the Valkyrie. But that bearded guy wants to know, what do we think about those 8mm cartridges?
Like 8mm Mauser?
Yeah, I mean 8mm Mauser. I don't know a whole lot about 8mm at all.
Oh,
8mm is
8mm Nambu.
8mm has got a lot of history to it.
Yep, for sure.
Yep, it's
I
another
like
one
my
of
man bun
those.
cartridges.
So it's got a lot of history, man. Like a 30-06, right?
Well,
Something's been around forever.
Absolutely, it's been around for so bloody long.
Yeah.
And it was the inspiration for several different rifles, I think.
Yep.
You know, you get something like the 8mm Remington Magnum. If you want to punch something hard, get an 8mm mag. It's the same. It's the case that the 7mm STW is based on, right? They just necked it down to 7mm and away they went. And that 7mm mag or 7mm STW is a bloody howitzer. It doesn't carry the downrange punch necessarily that an 8mm does, but yeah, 8mm are good. What the hell?
Like I said, I have no dog in that fight. I like my man bun cartridges. I like my Valkyries. I like my Grendels. I love my 308s. I love my 6.5 Needmores.
Okay, tell me a rifle or a cartridge that you hate. I mean, what is there really to hate about any cartridge, really?
You really want to know one cartridge that I absolutely disdain, and I'm going to get a lot of grief for it in this chat?
Let's have it.
223. Fucking hate it.
Time out.
You can make 7.62 by 25 Tokarov out of that. You can make 300 blackout. You can.
I hate it.
32, 20,
I'll tell you. I'll give you a reason why I hate 223.
Reload. You look at it wrong, and the case crumples.
Well, now you've gone and done it.
If you want to know, do you legitimately want to know why I hate 223?
Well,
like I'll give you a legitimate reason why. Right. When the COOF happened, everybody wanted an AR in 223, and it burned me out on that cartridge. It seriously did. When you're making, I was putting together, on average, when the COOF initially hit at the shop, I was putting together, I don't know, between 25 and 35 ARs in 223 every other day. And I got burned out on it. Like, I just couldn't stand it. The ballistics aren't there for it unless you're at 500 meters and in. 500 meters and in, okay, fine, whatever. But at that distance, most people are running a red dot on a 223, so they're not even understanding the ballistics all the way up to 500 meters. And this isn't an argument saying that somebody's wrong and somebody's not wrong. Yes, there's advantages to 223, but the 20 tactical is so much better.
Well, you got to think about
204 Ruger is so much better, ballistically speaking.
The guys are playing, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for. I run a 223 because of 3-gun, like the factory ammunition, the bulk ammunition that's available for those things.
Yeah,
it is the easy button. And for 3-gun, what do you need to worry about long range ballistics for.
It
Right?
does.
I gotta admit, I shot my best group ever with a 223. I
So-
shot a .1.
So Indy's got a great question here, and he asks, does that include 5.56? And it doesn't, because 5.56 creates the full pressure that 223 should be, in my opinion.
And so what I was going to say is, because of my military background, I'm fond of the 5.56, right? So I have a hard time dismissing the 223 because I see it as the first cousin of the 5.56.
You want to talk about splitting hairs here?
Yeah, right. So and typically, if I don't know if I was going to go buy ammo, I mean, for that size, it'd be a 5.56. When I was
That's
shooting
my
black
problem
kills,
with it. Is,
when I was shooting black kills, I shot the Mark 262 Mod 1, right? I loved it.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing.
I think that's my problem with it. Is so 5.56 and 223, although they're different based on pressures, one is running 42,000 psi while the other is running 48,000 psi.
Mm-hmm.
You got your neck tension that's different. You got your neck spacing that's different. The thickness of your case that's different, and your head space is a little bit different. But the 5.56 allows full pressure out of a 16-inch barrel, where a 223 is limited on the full pressure to a 20-inch barrel, technically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you're
1-inch group I shot was shooting 62 grain gold dots 223 through a 5.56 chamber on an 18-inch barrel.
Yeah.
And
but you said it right there.
3 shots in the only .1 I've ever shot in my life. Center to center was 0.1 inch.
But you said it right there, a 5.56 chamber.
True.
That's my argument with it. 223, unless you're going into, see, Ron, a bolt action 223, you're going to be able to run 5.56 in it. Why are you neutering that cartridge instead of just getting the 5.56 and creating full pressure? Why are you neutering it to a 223? Because there's still case ammo and you can buy it 20 round boxes for $5.99. Okay.
I'm that guy.
Are you?
To not have military ammo, military guns out and about in the general public.
Okay, I have the perfect response for all of this, and I'm pretty sure you guys once you hear it, you'll be on side. All right.
Okay.
Because America. Sorry, my accent.
Okay.
Because why can't we have whatever the hell we want?
Your task for tonight is to go look up the word Merkin.
Merkin.
Not American, Merkin, MERKIN.
Okay.
And a lot of it's
that's
just
the meaning.
I didn't want to pigeonhole you all into one.
A lot of my issue with 223 is I'm just burned out on 223. That's a lot of my issue. Is I'm physically burned out on it from.
I understand that perspective. However, I think it's a from the one perspective that you're looking at it from.
Yeah.
I can see that, but from all the others, I think it's fairly weak. There's such universality. Is that a word?
There is, yes. There is, yes.
Universality. So
I gotta punch out and start getting dinner cooked.
I like that. I like that, Kurt, because I look at the 7.6239 the same way.
See, yeah,
right.
Okay, I'm gonna punch out.
All right,
I kind of have a bromance for that. The 7.6239. I dig that round, right?
Right.
Well, even the 5.45 by 39.
Yeah.
Ballistically speaking,
thank you,
is identical ballistics to the 223.
Right.
I mean,
I think the 7.6239 as a ballistic case is probably not there, but it's just a cartridge that's everywhere. You can in Canada anywhere. If we were talking an Armageddon type situation, I think you'd probably walk into every third house and find some.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's my biggest frustration with it is like this is my same argument that I have with the gun industry. This is why I made a dasher and gas because I was told you can't do it. It's not possible. The innovation is not there.
Yep, I can relate.
And with my background, like you know what my background's in, Rooster.
Yes, sir.
And that's why I did the dasher and gas because I was told I couldn't do it and I wanted to be innovative. I caught so much crap for it. And then after the fact, or however you want to look at it, I've turned around and I've built 7 gas dashers that are being ran around the country in PRS.
No kidding.
Because nobody has done it. That's my problem with everything with it is there's no innovation. And then when you have somebody like myself or Boom Country or you or Rob that does these crazy things, everybody says you can't do it. Changing a twist rate on a 308.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that it would have helped stabilize 178s to 2,000 meters?
Right.
Exactly.
Like, math tells you it will, but 22 is one of my favorite calibers. Like 22 long rifle, love it.
They're fun.
Absolutely love it.
They're fun.
I mean, taking it out to 1,000 yards because it's so damn hard to do makes it so much.
That I haven't done. I
You
still
haven't?
only have I only still have the rabbit stock Cooey that I had as a kid, and that thing is, I mean, it's a gopher slayer close in, but it is not a 1,000 yard rifle by any stretch. Yeah.
So, if hypothetically speak, you were to build a 22,
Yep.
get a hold of me on Instagram. Do you cut barrels?
No, I don't. I just rely on my good buddy Ryan at International Barrels to them or Ian Precision. I get those guys to give me whatever I need.
Don't go with the standard. What's the standard 22? 1 in 18, I think it's what it is.
16 or 18, yeah.
I jumped down to a 1 in 12 on a 22.
So I was just gonna say,
and sped it up.
I think International won't sell anything but a 1 in 12 for their 22.
Okay.
So they've jumped on the bandwagon with everybody that was playing with 22s with the extreme distance.
Ryan, I don't know if I'd say he jumped on the bandwagon. He understood that people were having success with it, and he went out and made a 1 in 12 and up against some of the other popular ones and shot the living Jesus out of all those.
A ton of testing,
yeah, and then that showed to him the 1 in 12 is where you needed to be.
So I mean, we have the same comment that came up in yours with the mic. So that bearded guy, Rob's mic isn't breaking up. Rob has do you have hearing implants or is it hearing
aids? Yeah.
And it causes reverb. So it's not that his mic is breaking up, it's just the reverb from the hearing aids. My son was born deaf, so we did cochlear implants. Sometimes we have the same issues with his. So,
So if I was to throw my hat in the ring for cartridge I like or dislike, I would almost maybe say more disappointed, and that'd be the 30-06.
Really?
Yeah, I have a love affair with it because of that was my dad hunted with.
Right.
And I have that rifle, but when I get behind and shoot it, nothing about it impresses me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a hunter, I guess, right? And it just beats the living hell out of you. And I'm just like, I want it. A lot of where we are at today, long range wise, cartridge wise, has been off the back of the 30-06. Don't get me wrong, right?
Sure.
But it just leaves me going, buddy. Maybe I should put a different barrel on you.
No, I'm in agreement with you to an extent on that.
Yeah.
Like 30-06 does beat the hell out of you. There's no question about it. Like absolutely no question that it'll just tear into your shoulder. It's the same with my least favorite cartridge is 338 Win Mag. I don't know if anybody here shoots 338 Win Mag.
I have lots in the past,
Ugh, hate it. And it's just like 30-06. It's got its place if you like that heavy recoil of it just beating your shoulder off.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been crushed. The entire left side of my body's been crushed. So like I can't handle recoils like that anymore.
Mm.
The entire left side of my body is made out of metal and titanium. So like stuff
Yeah, the
starts
hell of a
moving
time
that
in Air
shouldn't
Force.
move and get to
Yeah.
hurting. So I know you know what I'm talking about, Rob.
Yeah. Yeah, I got titanium in my leg, so
Yeah, you
yeah.
get it. I mean, it's why my 6.5 Creed literally weighs 27 pounds. Because even though the 6.5 Creed has very minimalistic recoil, I want to eliminate every bit of it that I can.
How much does it weigh? 20?
20, 28 pounds.
Good Lord.
That thing must not move at all.
Oh no, it doesn't. So I've got it in the Area 419 chassis,
Okay.
Okay.
and when I cut the barrel for it at the muzzle, where I threaded the muzzle half by 28. Is it half by 28 or 5/8 by?
Probably 5/8 24.
Yeah, one of the two. It's right at an inch at the threads for the muzzle brake,
Mm-hmm.
and then comes all the way down to a 700 action clone, and then I've got MDT weights all the way down the side, all the way through the ARCA. I've added wheel weights just to weigh it down. I've got complete buttstock weights.
Nice.
But
Lord.
it also doesn't move. If I balance it on a tank trap,
Yeah.
it'll literally sit there. If I balance it on a T-post, I use Armageddon gear bags. I don't know what kind of bags
Yeah.
you use.
Yeah.
Throw a medium bag over
Yeah.
a T-post and lay it on there, and it ain't gonna move.
So here's something that you kind of just what you mentioned about the chassis, and we never really got into this, Kurt.
No.
Is the proliferation of chassis these days, and what that has done to the long range precision world.
The whole idea of modularity, I think,
Yeah.
really pushed chassis over the top for choice of what do you want to say, carrier.
So when we talked about gunsmithing, remember, like me and I was like, oh, gunsmiths to me, worked on your dad's old rifle. Bedding remember that was a thing. Bedding, was it bedded?
Yep.
You just took your old factory wood stock and then you bedded it, and that was the best you could hope for addition of accuracy. And now we have all these. There is there's got to be like 24 easily, if not more, of precision chassis that are just dropping. And I think Ryan from International Barrels did a good video where he literally just took a factory rifle and factory ammo, and just started shooting and just made these subtle changes, right? And one of the biggest differences was the chassis.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
it was incredible.
I mean, look at chassis now compared when I first got into shooting. I mean, you're talking a chassis that I don't want to say it was a trashy chassis, but
right.
You're talking about original Wook stocks and original berry stocks and things like that. It was a heavier stock that had that full tang bar that ran all the way down to give you stability. And now you're looking at it, you see MDT, they literally built an entire chassis out of one aluminum block.
Yep.
And there's no nuts, there's no screws, anything in it, and it's a solid piece. I mean, the harmonics alone of a chassis like that tells you there's an advantage over a stock.
And look at the dollar value of that. And as you're probably talking about the ACC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is? I mean, in Canada, what does that retail for, Kurt? Roughly around $1,700.
It is, yeah.
That is, in the big picture of things, that's not a lot of money.
Mm-mm. Well, and then if you wanted to stay with the traditional stock quote unquote chassis.
Mhm.
You can go with the foundation
Yeah.
now. You have Manners.
Yeah.
You
Well,
have
this guy right here, that XRS,
That's
right?
it's in a Manners, isn't it?
No, that's an XRS MDT.
Oh, gotcha.
And that is a $600 chassis,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but it performs
Does very
damn
well.
good.
Yep.
Performs really well.
I mean,
I like it.
like a lot of people give me crap for running the Area 419 chassis, and to be honest with you, it's probably my favorite chassis I've ever ran. From ACC to the ESS to a Manners,
Mhm.
it's probably hands down my favorite chassis.
Is that right?
It's not a heavy chassis. In all reality, if I took all my weights off of it and just weighed the rifle with no scope, nothing on it, the entire rifle without everything on there is like 16 pounds, which isn't a lot
Nope.
for a 26-inch barrel.
Heavy enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now y'all are running shorter barrels for the long ranges. Y'all are more European, right, on your long range barrels?
Not
I'm
necessarily,
running
no.
26-inch.
26.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like the F class guys routinely run 30-inch barrels, and of course you get into the ELR stuff, the big ELR stuff, and they're running anything from, well, you'll see a couple of 26-inch barrels, but that's fairly rare. But they're usually more around 30 to 34 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, like even my 12 gauge that I have for 3-gun, I've weighed it down because I don't like the recoil of it. And it's 12 gauge doesn't have a lot of recoil as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Not in retrospect. But I don't know, man. I just can't handle that stuff anymore.
You're getting old.
Well, before I got crushed, like before my entire left side got crushed, I didn't have an issue with heavy recoil.
Yeah.
But after you go through femur surgery, hip surgery, double knee surgery, and then you get a rod ran down from your hip all the way down to your kneecap, it gets to be pretty brutal.
Yeah. It's a good thing you're not a dog or a horse.
I know they'd have put me down.
Yeah.
David's got an interesting one, a 30 carbine in a gas rifle, but I think they did that, didn't they?
Well, didn't Ruger run a 30 carbine in the ranch rifle?
I thought they did.
Time? Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I know they ran the 7.62 by 39.
Yeah, and they did the 300 blackout.
Did they? In the Mini 14?
Yeah, they did a 300 blackout. They've done a 6.5 Grindle, a 223 wild, so you could run 5.56 in it and get full pressure. I mean, that's my only fuss with 223 is it's just a neutered cartridge. And then they did the Arc. They've done the Valkyrie, and they've done something else. I can't remember what the other one was.
In the Mini?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Interesting.
Oh, dude, they've done just about every cartridge that Sammy spec'd in the Mini.
Well, we don't get those memos up here.
No.
You're talking about their bolt action Mini Ranch, right?
No.
Oh, you're talking about their PCC.
Mini 14.
Oh, no.
Your Mini 14.
No, these are in their Mini bolt actions.
Oh.
But Remington did an AR, Big Country says.
Remington did an AR. Interesting.
Yeah,
I've seen that up here.
Did you know Savage makes ARs too?
Yeah, they just started not too long ago, didn't they?
No, my Valkyrie I've had for 5 years. It's a Savage.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. I got into the Valkyrie when the Valkyrie first kicked off, when everybody was talking crap about it. And then I did a load with 88 grain Burger hybrids and used Varget of all powders and slowed it down quite a bit. And I've had it out to 1,600 yards. Pretty easy.
Oh, is that right?
Valkyrie will perform if you slow it down. It's the fast speeds that kill it.
Oh, I know very little about it.
When you're talking factory loads, it's running like 3,400 feet per second.
That's crazy.
And I slowed it down to under 3,000. That way I could run it in gas PRS. And I think I slowed it down to like 2,950.
Okay.
And once I slowed it down, it was a complete game changer. And then Grendel, I did the opposite with. I sped it up to like 2,950 from like 2,785. I sped it up.
With how heavy a bullet?
123s.
Oh, was that? And you got 2,950?
Oh, dude.
Holy shit.
Dude, I push pressures.
Yep, you must have.
I mean, but I'm not scared to push pressures. That's the difference. I don't know. I guess running bolt actions, I'm not as scared to push pressures. Mr. Boom Country over here has blown up a few ARs with his Valkyrie.
Well, I guess
we talked about
limits are then, doesn't he?
Yeah. But I mean, it's all good.
Yeah.
But with the bolt action, speeding the Grendel up is pretty easy because you can get to that higher pressure. You can get up to that like 65,000 psi. And so where you're limited with the gas rifle at 50,000.
Sure.
So that helps.
Well, buddy, you know what? I got to be up in 6 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry to cut it short, but
no, you're good.
all right.
Yeah, I can talk hours about ballistics.
Yeah.
And shit like that.
Well, thanks very much for having us on, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
You bet.
But
Yeah.
y'all be careful. We'll have to do it again, even though you can't say coyotes, right?
Well, we'll talk about this.
All right. Well, y'all be safe.
All right, bud.
Right on. Thanks, man.
All right. All right. Bye. Bye, everybody.